Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I think, we are really in the post-pandemic times now, right? Things have changed. A lot of data shows that things are not the same as they were before. For example, movies have got bigger, right? We are now talking about 1,000 crore movies. In the first decade of the century, it was 100 crores was the number. Last decade with Bahubali, it became 1,500, 600 crores. Now we're talking about 2,000 plus crore movies, and I think, I dare say, by the end of this decade, we may have $1 billion movie from India, 8,000 crore rupees, right? Possible. Because today morning I just heard that a new movie is being produced, Mahabharat, at 700 crore rupees. It's a film, 700 crore rupees budget. So I'm sure it should do 5,000 crore rupee in revenue. That's the first thing that has changed. Audiences have changed. Everybody is watching everything, right? My neighbor, who's a Sadaji, he discusses Malayalam content with me. It's never happened before. I mean, he's been a neighbor for some years. And suddenly he's discussing the next Malayalam film, which is, I said, wow, I mean, this is amazing, right? So people are watching every single thing. All kinds of content is being made, right? Extremely edgy content, right? With a lot of nudity and profilatives. On the other side, there's a lot of family-driven content, right? There's adventure, there's drama, there's thrill, every single kind of content is being made. Any writer who has half a story in his mind can actually go and make sure that his content is created. I think so we live in these amazing times. The other interesting, very interesting fact is that of the top 10 movies for this year, 6 are movies that are not in Hindi, right? So whether it's Pushpa, RRR, KGF, even in fact, of late, there are 2 movies. One is called Karthikeya 2, right? One is called, purely from numbers, box office numbers point of view, Sita Ramanan, right? How do films like these actually clock such big numbers is an amazing, brand new development post the pandemic era. Another thing that has also happened is television has grown, right? So I recently read an article that Anupama has reached 240 million views, which is like 24 crore people have seen this series called Anupama, which is remarkable. I mean, that's like, that's almost like saying 20% of India's population has seen the show. That's a huge number by itself. And finally, I think what has also happened is that all the platforms are flourishing. Whether it is DTH, whether it is OTT, whether it is television, whether it's theaters, I think all the platforms are flourishing. The difference is the kind of content they're showing. I think that's what is making the difference. So finally, it is about content now. And I think one of the biggest things the pandemic has also done is dissolve the boundaries. Geography is history now. There's nothing called geography, right? You could make a film in any language. How many of you here have seen a film called Sita Ramanan? Yeah, there's a few hands here. It's a very unique film. It's a movie in Telugu. The hero of the film is a Malayali actor. The heroine is a Hindi actor. The second heroine is a Kannada actor. One father is a Bengali, second father is a Marathi. Right? Actually, you cannot pinpoint and say, kaun si language ka picture hai. But it's a Telugu film. It's a pure Telugu film. It does 100 crores at the box office. It's phenomenal. It has never happened before. Even for Kamal Hassan to have 500 crores box office for his film, never in his life. Where did these viewers come from? Where have they come from? Where has this 400 crores come from? Who is watching those films of Kamal Hassan today that they never had the opportunity to watch earlier? So perhaps distribution also has a role to play. Right? So with that in mind, I think let's start today's discussion. Why is regional so big? Forever regional was big. If you know, in India, 55% of India has Hindi, 55 crore people in India have Hindi as a mother tongue. 55 crore, right? 45 crore people have other languages as a mother tongue. So basically, there are a lot of other languages being spoken in the country. For example, Marathi. Akshay runs a platform called Planet Marathi, right? There are 8.5 crore people who have Marathi as a mother tongue. Right? That's a significant number. Telugu has also got 8.5 crore people who speak Telugu as a mother tongue. Tamil has about 7 crores. Bengali has 10 crores. So these are large, significant sizes. And all of these audiences have suddenly got a lot of content to watch. And that content today, if you go to Netflix today, how many of you saw Netflix in the last 7 days? How many of you saw a regional movie in Netflix in the last 7 days? Do you notice that Netflix has stopped giving languages there now? So you have to really scratch your head and say original content, kaun se language mein hai? because they don't write the language anymore. So you will see a Telugu film or whatever film and you'll say, what is the language? There's no language. It just says, what are the language you want to see in? Forget about the language it is made in. Which is the language you want to see in? So that's a remarkable shift, right? Instead of worrying about which language it is made, it's asking you which language do you want to see it. And then you can choose your language. So that's the power of regional. And I think this decade will be the decade of regional. I think regional has broken through. Last decade, at the beginning of the decade in 2011, there were 8 Punjabi films made, 8. And there was a film awards the next year, 2012. All 8 of them won an award. There were only 8 films and everybody won an award. Now there are 56 or 60 Punjabi films made last year, in 2018, 2019. Right? And now that industry has reported, for the first time ever, Punjabi box office collection from Punjab is greater than Hindi box office collection from Punjab. So in 10 years, the industry is fully changed. Right? Take Marathi, middle of last decade, we had a movie called Sairat. It really pushed the boundaries and made a 100 crore film. Right? Suddenly everybody is talking about a 30, 40 crore Marathi film, and can we get there and do that? So Malayalam, look at Malayalam. 3.5 crore people in India speak Malayalam as a mother tongue. How is the whole country discussing Malayalam? How does Malayalam do a 100 crore film? 3.5 crore people have a mother tongue and the movie is making 100 crores at the box office. 50, 60 crores at the box office. Right? On the other hand, Hindi, which is spoken by 55 crore people, I don't think, a lot of these movies are even clocking 10, 20 crores at the box office. So I think it's a fascinating time, extremely interesting and fascinating time. Platforms are also, there's no dearth of platforms. So it'll be interesting to see what the panel has to say today. We are awaiting Ajit, who will come, I think in a bit, but we'll begin anyway. So first let's start with Akshay. Akshay, Planet Marathi has had I think a very good launch. Yeah. I think you had Madhuri Dixit to launch it, which is terrific.
That's right.
Right, and Son of the Soil. I mean, she's really the brand of, the language and the culture. So how has been your journey now? I mean, since you began the platform last 1 year or so, how has it been?
See, Planet Marathi was launched, or we can say that it took birth in COVID, simply because, when one of my film, which was, made before COVID and released on the same day when the COVID actually struck, it was like one of those muhurats, probably I would say, 13th of March when we launched AB and CD. And we all thought probably, the COVID it's probably going to go there for a week or two, and then it is. But what happened was that those 3-4 months, what we realized that because if I kind of, we couldn't release it later on, and then realized that, if we wouldn't have had a pre-deal with Amazon, मेरे पैसों का क्या होता, मेरे film का क्या होता. And that is one thing that came to my mind, our mind, the team of people that I have. And we said, let's look at this as a business in the long term. And that is where probably Planet Marathi was born. Not only that, I think over about 100, 200 films were stuck in the whole COVID process. They all were, every OTT, like our OTT also, we can't go out and, buy out all the films, right? We have certain restrictions. So what do you do with those, say, 10 people are lucky or 10 films are lucky? What happens to the rest 190? And Marathi industry is not that evolved like probably the other regional languages. And that is where we thought that this platform could probably be helpful. If not, having a great theatrical release or great box office or something like that, but at least they will have a decent release. And that is where Planet Marathi was born.
Interesting, very interesting. The other interesting thing about content, like I said earlier, is that it has broken boundaries. In the sense, today you can visualize a story, it can be a very edgy story, and you can make a film on it. You can visualize a story which is a very family story, and you can still make a film on it. And you can, do everything else in between. And so we have, Vibhu here. Vibhu's initial content journey has been very interesting. When I first heard that somebody's actually started something called Ullu.com, and you can see all kinds of content that you don't see anywhere, I was very excited. I said, this is good, this is very daring. this is very bold. And I think compliments to you to have taken that leap of faith and launched such a platform with such content. But I also realized that, he pivoted in between and then started a new channel, right? Slightly less edgier than the other. So I also want to understand from you, what drove you to pivot from such an exciting and fascinating content platform to something different?
So hi everyone. जैसा कि अभी आप सब जानते हैं, सब अभी बताया आपने कि उल्लू के बारे में. सो ऐसा कुछ पर्टिकुलर नहीं है कि उल्लू बनाने पे केवल वही कंटेंट को कर सकते हैं. कंटेंट की वैरायटी होती है. तो जब मैंने उल्लू स्टार्ट किया तो उल्लू स्टार्ट करने से पहले ये स्ट्रैटेजी समझना ज़रूरी होती है कि मार्केट में कमी किस चीज़ की है और अवेलेबिलिटी किस चीज़ की नहीं है. तो मैंने उस चीज़ को देखा और उसको समझ करके वो कंटेंट बनाया, क्योंकि वो केवल एक एक्सक्लूसिव कंटेंट था. आज इसके करने के बाद, क्योंकि केवल उसी पे फोकस नहीं रहना था, क्योंकि क्या होता है कि एक चेंज जो होता है वो आपकी तरक्की की सीढ़ी होती है. तो अगर आप एक चीज़ कोई बनाते रहेंगे, चाहे कोई भी कंटेंट हो या किसी भी चीज़ को आप एक बार बना लेते हैं और उसी पे ही आप वर्क करते रहते हैं, तो ऑफ कोर्स वो आगे बढ़ता है, बट उसके चेंजेस चाहिए होते हैं. तो उसके बाद हमने सोचा कि इस प्लेटफॉर्म के अंदर ही एक बूफे लगाते हैं, जिसके अंदर रियलिटी शोज़ या कुछ आपके कुछ अलग टाइप का कंटेंट बनाते हैं जो वेब पैटर्न पे बना सकते हैं, शॉर्ट लॉन्ग वेब सीरीज़ जिसे आप कह सकते हैं. बट क्योंकि उल्लू का एक अपना अलग वर्किंग, एक अलग मार्केटिंग, एक अलग ऑडियंस क्रिएट हो चुकी थी, सो वी स्टार्ट बिल्डिंग न्यू चैनल अतरंगी. तो अब क्योंकि अतरंगी लाना था और इतने बड़े मार्केट के अंदर इस तरीके का कंटेंट लोगों के पास ऑलरेडी है, सो हमने सोचा कि इसको हम एक टीवी चैनल पे लाएंगे और ये HSM होगा, हमारा हिंदी बेल्ट को ही हम कवर करेंगे. और हमने उसको टीवी के साथ साथ OTT पे भी हम उसको लेकर के आए. अभी मार्केट इतना बड़ा हो चुका है कि रीजनल कंटेंट, जैसा कि जो आज का विषय है, सब्जेक्ट है, कि उसको भी हम लोग साथ में हमको देखना था कि वो कंटेंट हम किस तरीके से अपना डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर सकें और दे सकें. तो अभी रीजनल OTTs काफ़ी अच्छे वर्क कर रहे हैं. जैसे प्लैनेट मराठी है, अभी हरियाणा में भी एक खुला है, आपका बंगाल का हॉइचॉय बहुत पहले से है. सो वो एक बहुत अच्छा मार्केट बन रहा है. और उसके क्योंकि क्या है कि वर्ल्ड के अंदर हम हिंदुस्तानी हर जगह कोने कोने में फैले हुए हैं और हमें वही लैंग्वेज सुनना पसंद होता है जिस लैंग्वेज में हम अपने घर पे बात करते हैं. वो हमारी थोड़ा इजी होता है. तो जैसे मैं अभी इस वक्त हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, तो वो लोग जल्दी उसको पकड़ते हैं. अगर मैं बाहर हूँ तो वो लोग इंग्लिश में, जो फॉरेन कंट्रीज़ में हैं. तो मैंने अभी अतरंगी ऑफ कोर्स नहीं किया, बट उल्लू के अंदर मैंने 8 लैंग्वेजेस में डबिंग करी और मुझे बहुत अच्छा रिस्पांस मिला. तो ये जो आज का सब्जेक्ट है और जिस पे हम लोग डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं उसमें, तो ये बिल्कुल कहना सही है कि रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस जो होती है वो केवल एक मार्केट को मतलब कई मार्केट्स को एक साथ सेम कंटेंट को पकड़ती है. अब आज ये कहना गलत होगा कि एक्टर जिसका फेस है उसकी वजह से कंटेंट देखा जाता है. ऐसा नहीं अब रह गया. अब कंटेंट ड्रिवन इंडस्ट्री हो गई है जिसपे कंटेंट ही मेन है. एक्टर आज के टाइम में नोन या अननोन होना कोई बड़ी चीज़ नहीं है. एक्टर की एक्टिंग कितनी डीप है, कितना अच्छा वो इंटेलेक्चुअल एक्टिंग कर रहा है, वो उस पर डिपेंड करता है. और स्टोरी कितनी आपको बांध के रखती है.
Interesting. Very interesting point. At this point, I'll go to Ajit. Ajit, AHA.
Big apologies for the delay. I was on a
Ajit,
flight
AHA
and
runs on Telugu content, and I hear that recently you've launched the Tamil version, right? He's talking about actors. I think the biggest superstars of the country comes from these two languages, right? Telugu and
Yes,
Tamil.
I met Kamal sir yesterday.
So much so, yeah. So much so that I believe that the fan following of these stars is so much that if you go to the theater and take out a cell phone and try to record something, chances are you'll be killed when you go outside. Right? The fans are so big. That's how big the stars are. Yet, and though number of theaters in Tamil Nadu and Andhra is huge, there's a massive number, 1,600, 1,500. So between the two, they have about 3,200 theaters between the two states. So in spite of a theater growing culture, in spite of the star system, big screen, making those big, Fool Mala and Milk and all that, how does the content rest on OTT now? How does an OTT, who watches this OTT content on AHA?
So that's interesting. Firstly, extremely sorry everyone. And Vibhuji, it was good to hear Hindi. I'll keep switching. I'll try Telugu also if I can. So there's a small anecdote I want to tell you. So when originally we set up AHA Media, which is the founding company for AHA, the brief from Mr. Allu Arvind and Ram Rao, our promoters, was here's a set corpus of money, let's launch in 4 languages, right? Because we loosely use the term regional, south, right? But I took a 10-day trip from Vijayanagar, which is near Vizag, which is the coastal Andhra, all the way to Tirupati, which is south. Over 10 days, I must have traveled probably 300 miles in between with flights. And I was trying to understand this youth. That anecdote will answer your question probably better than any strategic, paper. And so the data from the telcos showed that on an average, this Indian youth watches 3 to 4 hours of content every day on the mobile. From Vijayanagar, tier 3 to tier 1 towns, on an average, I must have met about 200 people over those 10 days. Almost every one of them was watching 6 to 8 hours of content. And they were watching everything. They were watching Malayalam, they were watching Tamil, they were watching Bollywood, some of the best content of Hollywood, pirated unfortunately. They were watching Korean, and when you ask them, what do you watch in native Telugu, they could barely give 4 names, and those are all poorly produced YouTube shows. And so when I came back to the promoters, I said, there's a big opportunity, but it's not south, it's local. And let's take this entire investment and put it on local. So these guys are content aficionados, right? They are watching everything that is thrown at them. They will go to, say, the big star film in theaters, but when we walked in, Prime Video was the biggest player. That's because they had all the big films. And they'll watch it again and again and again. And their appetite for content goes from the big blockbuster of Allu Arjun to the most nuanced small film that Fahad Fazil brings to them. So they're watching everything.
Are you therefore saying that the multiple viewing habit, seeing the movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, has now got substituted by watching it once in the theater and coming to the OTT platform for the next time?
Partly, but they're also, I think Vibhu was talking about it, they're also variety seekers. So, one of the things in OTT was OTT only crime genre works, right? And that's a myth because comedy works as much in drama. But what we found is our biggest success has come from non-fiction. And I'll tell you why non-fiction. Because in non-fiction, we do talk shows. Now we did Indian Idol for the first time in South. We are doing a dance show right now. And we're doing second talk show. They get to see the stars in person. So the fan following translates to non-fiction fiction as much as fiction. And they are willing to watch a lot of content without stars as well. I think they just want to watch good content. And they have, a lot more time than we thought that they have for content.
Interesting. So let me come to Aamir. You have a platform which is like a content aggregator. You've got channels, you've got movies, you've got all kinds of content in multiple languages, right? And you want to be an aggregator of content. So what kind of audiences are coming to you? And how do people know that you exist and how do they reach you?
So just to give you background before I answer to your question, is that, we also born in COVID. The idea to build something that everybody was watching towards OTT and everything. But I see that there is a sense of cord cutting was happening to a certain extent, but it was not to that extent. So we thought, can we build something which will be a platform which brings OTT and TV on a single platform? And on to that aspiration, we started building it. So the whole conversation when it's come to regional or a mainstream OTT, I feel the regional is something for which the consumer wants to pay. And for mainstream, it is already available through different kind of means. And when I say, as PlayboxTV, our biggest aspiration is to create
enlarge the pie rather than playing in the same pie. So every OTT has a set of users, has a set of customer base, which they can directly approach whenever they want to. But when we came in picture, we play a platform where we integrate all mainstream OTT to a regional OTT into a single platform, into a single subscription, single sign-on. The user journey, customer experience is quite more different when you go to individual platform like AHA or Ullu. Because if he's directly going to Ullu, he's a loyal customer to Ullu. And other than that, what I've realized is that getting a paying subscriber for 12 months, it is a bit a task for OTT in the long run. So with players like us, which discount the price, which bundles it into a different plan. So you'll not believe, we as PlayboxTV, we have two models. We either we directly serve to the consumer, D2C also, and we also partner with a lot of players. So I must be having a partner in Siliguri who's selling cable for last 30 years. And today, that same Siliguri guy is selling Z5, bundling with his cable TV. So I feel that is changing over the period of time.
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, so, coming to Akshay, now, like Ajit said and Vibhuji said that, they do multiple language content. Are you also dubbing Marathi content in other languages on the platform? Or is it Marathi, because it's Planet Marathi?
No, we haven't started it as yet, but this is something that is there in a, drawing rooms at now. And we are talking to people. People are talking to us. We haven't even gone into the non-fiction category as yet. But all of this you would see in the next 6 months or so.
Okay. And how about outside India? I mean, how is AHA doing outside of India? How is Planet Marathi doing outside of India?
Outside India, I think we are doing pretty well. I just have, had an opportunity to travel to US for a Bruhan Maharashtra convention, which happens every 2 years. And I was very surprised, happy that people have started downloading, watching Marathi content. And the whole point was to take Marathi global, We have had so many, I only have so many relatives staying in the US. They don't come back quite often. And then how do you have those plays and dramas and films reaching out to them? Even if a film goes there, it's in theater for like a day, a private show happening. So that was the real motive, and I was very surprised when I actually met, uncles and aunties, they of the age of 65 and 17, and they told me, Akshay, we've watched Ran Bazaar. And I was so happy about the fact that they watched Ran Bazaar, because we didn't know that how they are going to perceive it, how they are going to take it. But they all loved it, and we are doing well. We have almost available in about 200 countries now. So it's a good thing.
And AHA, what about AHA? Because, AHA's audiences, again, Telugu and Tamil, are huge. The diaspora is massive, right?
Yeah, so we were quite surprised, honestly. So, Telugu households in the US, if just the US is where we launched first, there are about 150,000 households. By the end of our 18 months, we had 1 lakh subscriptions. So we had 100,000 subscriptions in the US. And we did some research, and one of the things we found out was that the 100% Telugu, that 100% local native promise that we gave, was actually an even stronger promise for the first generation Telugu Indians there. For them, it was a connect back home through the language, and a great way to get the next gen, the families and the kids together to watch pure Telugu content, because otherwise they are watching probably everything else in English. And the challenge or opportunity that we see now is that we've now started planning some content which we're going to shoot completely in the US, with them talking a mix of Telugu and American English, to get the next gen also to understand, hey, listen, we are yours as well. And
takes me back to Nagesh Kokunur's earlier films.
Yeah, Nagesh's
ABCD and Rockford, Hyderabad Blues, ABCD and all that.
In fact, this weekend we are launching AHA Tamil in Malaysia, but learning that to make sure that we keep it young, we are launching it on the back of a concert by Anirudh, who's one of the top music directors.
Very nice.
And in that concert, we are saying now AHA Tamil is in Malaysia, and we are announcing 3 projects with Malaysian actors, Malaysian Tamil actors.
Well,
because it's a big market.
Very good. So, Vibhuji, again, back to you. I mean, between Ullu and Atrangii, right? Is there a big audience segmentation? Are there 2 different audiences?
हाँ जी बिल्कुल, दोनों में ऑडियंस बिल्कुल अलग रहती है, उसकी ऑडियंस बिल्कुल अलग है और अतरंगी की अलग है, क्योंकि उसमें हमारी ज़्यादातर टीवी ऑडियंस आती है, और क्योंकि हम लोग डेली उसके अंदर 4 साढ़े 4 घंटे का प्रोग्राम जो है वो उसमें हम लोग देते हैं अपना, और हर रोज़ एक एपिसोड उसमें ऑफ कोर्स जो टीवी पे दिखता है वो हम लोग उसको दिखाते हैं, हमने दूसरी तरह पैटर्न रखा हुआ है। तो ऑडियंस उसका अलग है और उसका जो प्रमोशन एक्टिविटी होती है वो भी डिफरेंट है, और उसको जिस तरीके से लोग मतलब इसमें क्या होता है कि जैसे उल्लू में अगर हम देखें तो मेल ऑडियंस ज़्यादा है, इसमें हमारी जो है वो हाँ फैमिली भी है और मेल फीमेल का भी वो ज़्यादा रहता है, सारे एज के हैं क्योंकि 12+ है ये ऑफ कोर्स। और इसमें एक बहुत अच्छी चीज़ हमको मिल रही है, ऑफ कोर्स डाउनलोड्स हमारे पास ज़्यादा नहीं है अभी फ़िलहाल देखें, बट जितने भी डाउनलोड्स हैं उसमें एक्टिव यूज़र्स जो हैं वो 70% रहते हैं। 70%, दैट इज़ अ वेरी ह्यूज एंड वेरी गुड नंबर कि एक्टिव यूज़र्स 70%, बिकॉज डाउनलोड होने के बाद ये पक्का नहीं होता है कि एक्टिव यूज़र्स कितने होंगे, और ये भी पक्का नहीं होता है कि वो डिलीट ऐप ना हो जाए।
करेक्ट करेक्ट। तो एक वन क्विक क्वेश्चन, सी Netflix has also gone to now binging with Netflix has become weekly episode dropping with Netflix, right? So they started moving, shifting slightly to TV. Similarly, Amazon is now saying no nudity on Amazon. So we want the family. So there are people shifting to TV, and similarly, even from subscription, Netflix is advertising. So are OTT platforms at some point, do they have to give in to come closer to the television format?
So the advertising move is driven purely by the commercials of this business, right? We invest a lot more than what we earn through subscriptions in India, and the good thing is at least young Indian is paying for the subscriptions. But as far as your first question, I think that was inevitable. Who are these people who have come to OTT? They are actually from the 220 million TV homes. And the ones who are not targeted by TV, which is the men, have moved faster. But everybody else is coming. So this thing that OTT is only targeting young men.
My
with
question
that
was
explicit
in the last 2-3 years, binging was like the big thing. But now they've come to weekly episode dropping. They've come to advertising now. They're also saying no nudity. So the content is also being in a way.
So family is a clear trend,
right,
for sure. The binge, even in the US, is a task for them. There are two problems with binge, right? One is that you have to get this audience back. That 70% engaged number is great, right? But these are very fickle audience, and most of them are on the Chinese mobiles, which have 32 GB, right? Unlike TV, in OTT we have a different problem. If you don't give them content regularly, they will uninstall your app, you're gone. So I think the opposite of binge actually helps building retention, which I think an HBO and Disney have always done, and I think the others are getting to. But the nudity part is, it was always going to be up against that. There's a very small audience that goes for that content. I think there's a much wider audience of family who all come to OTT.
Marathi? Would you also look at weekly episode dropping, advertising?
We did that and we got so badly roasted. And every time we did that, I actually had to think whether we should be doing it again or no. It worked for us in a way, especially with Ran Bazaar. Because what happens is, they kind of watch it like 2 episodes on every Friday, then let's say 5 Friday, and then they want to watch it again. So it helps in a way. I don't know if the strategy is right or wrong, honestly, but if you ask me as a OTT myself, if I'm watching something, I wouldn't want to break it and would love to watch it together.
So Aamir, coming to you now, you're a platform amongst everybody here. How deep are your pockets? Because a lot of platforms are splurging money on acquiring content. How deep are your pockets? I mean, I don't want to see these pockets, but yeah, I mean your deep pockets.
So if you see in terms of data, yes, my pockets are quite deeper, but not in terms of money for sure. But yes, I feel in the long run, every OTT will be needing a lot of data to see what kind of movie is trending, what kind of searches we are doing, what kind of content people are watching. And I am that platform which is a native platform for a user to come. So there is 2 things which is most important from a user perspective is discovery. So we help user discovery content in a very beautiful way. So I send him personal notification saying that, boss, this Friday you want to watch this. And the next Friday. And this is a human-to-human notification. Like every user will get a different notification. So that is discovery. We are solving a huge problem. And we have seen that whenever we try to recommend something, we see a spike of subscription. We see a spike of traffic to a particular platform. So that is one thing. And I think platform doesn't matter. Content, we are content agnostic. If I have seen a hoarding of a certain movie or a recommendation of a certain movie, if I want to go and watch it, I will go irrespective of any platform.
So that's a fascinating discussion. I think what it looks like is that everybody has gained from the pandemic, right? And the only one person I think who was lost in the pandemic is Boris Johnson. He lost his job. He came in 2019, he left just as the pandemic left. So I think he's the only guy. Everybody seems to gain. So now, going forward 3 years, let's say, right, hopefully there's no pandemic. Let's have one last word from everybody. Let's say you're here now, you were launched in the pandemic, you launched the Tamil in the pandemic, you launched the channel in the platform, channel in the pandemic, you launched a platform in the pandemic, right? Everybody's launched something new in the pandemic here. I launched a regional film production company and a film studio in the pandemic, right? So we've all grown in the pandemic. Going forward 3 years, right? What's your view? Where will you be 3 years later if we were to meet again on the stage? Let's start with Ajit.
So I think the tailwinds of pandemic are gone. So there will be some normalcy restored. But this is such a young industry that actually it does not really matter. With 5G coming in, I mean, there are parts of the country where still you're not able to access good speed internet. So I think there is a lot in store in the future. I think the two things we'll have to continue to think about, and before, because we're all content people primarily, I think technology will evolve so fast that we'll need to be prepared and what is the next thing. Whether it was TV, cinema, OTT, it's just, delivery mechanisms. So what is the next technology that will come? We have to be geared for it. Stories will always remain. And I think the second thing is, I think we'll be under pressure from new formats like gaming, where the next generation probably is going to skip the entire thing of a binge format and the 2-hour films. So what do we do for that 14-year-old today who's pretty much unaware of any of the things that we do? And they are on their games. So these two things is what we have to think about over the next 3 years.
Interesting. Akshay?
Yes, more or less the same. Gamification is something that we're looking very, very closely. We're now moving from Planet Marathi. We're just going to be announcing Planet Goa. And then we move on to Planet Gujarat. We want to see how, every region kind of, supports us and whether we also do a fairly good job. But so far, if you ask me for the next 3 years, I think 3 साल मेरे ये बाकी region में फैलते ही चले जाएंगे. But yes, as on a group level, I think Vistas is our partner as well as principal funding company. So they are already into metaverse and NFTs. So somewhere, as a group, probably we all will be a part of it.
Yeah, Vibhu ji.
सो जैसा आपका क्वेश्चन है कि 3 साल में, तो ऑफ कोर्स 3 साल में आगे क्या, उसके आगे भी काफ़ी अभी क्रूजिंग फेस है. और क्योंकि अभी OTT काफ़ी जगह पहुंचने के बाद भी अभी काफ़ी जगह नहीं पहुंच पाया है या लोगों ने नहीं देख पाया, बिकॉज अभी 1.5 GB जो मिलता है उसको देखते हुए कंटेंट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से हर रोज़ हर चीज़ नई अगर हम डालते रहेंगे तो ये 3 साल से भी और आगे ये चलता रहेगा आगे. जिस तरीके से जैसे अभी हम लोग रीजनल कंटेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, जो मैं अभी बोलना भी चाह रहा था, अजीत सर ने बोला अभी कि अभी जैसे कोरियन और आपका टर्किश कंटेंट बहुत इन हुआ है, लोग उसको भी देखने में पीछे नहीं हटते हैं. अभी ये मैंने अभी किसी पत्रकार ने मुझसे पूछा भी था, तो अभी मैंने उनको बोला था, और ये बहुत ज़्यादा इन हो रहा है. आने वाले टाइम के अंदर जैसे हम अपना कंटेंट, जैसे अभी अजीत जी ने बोला कि हम लोग US में कर रहे हैं, जैसे हम लोग भी अपना अतरंगी गल्फ में लॉन्च करने जा रहे हैं, तो ये आपका धीरे धीरे करके ये आगे बहुत बढ़ता जाएगा, क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी और अभी जो CDN जो बफरिंग वगैरह वो डे बाई डे कम होती जाएगी 5G आने के बाद, तो ये बहुत ही आगे चल के वो है. बट हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स को पैसे कम करने पड़ेंगे, ये कम करने पड़ेंगे, मतलब पैसे कम मतलब सब्सक्रिप्शन चार्जेस, क्योंकि वो हमने अभी जब चेकआउट किया एज ए उल्लू, और
एकदम जाते एकदम सच बोल दिया, एकदम
सही है, दिस इज करेक्ट, बिकॉज मैं भी अभी एक बात बोला हूँ कि 70% एक्टिव यूजर्स हैं. उसका कारण ये है कि मैं फ्री दिखा रहा हूँ, रोज 4 घंटे का कंटेंट मैं लोगों को फ्री दिखा रहा हूँ A-वॉर्ड मॉडल पर एडवर्टाइजिंग में, तो उसके कारण से लोग वहाँ पर टिकते हैं, क्योंकि कंटेंट कंज्यूम करना है, कैसे करें.
इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट. आमिर
Sir, so next 3 years, I feel, sir, when we see OTT for 3 years, I think it's just a nascent stage today. अभी अगर OTT को भारत में penetrate करना है तो 3 साल भी कम पड़ेगा, because there is lot of distribution issues at the ground level. So yeah, as a platform, as a super OTT aggregator, I would like to add more and more genres. So I think OTT, I think podcast will be the future. I think gaming streams will be the future. So 3 साल में we will try to become something which will give a user the best kind of content which he wants at different age as a life cycle.
So, and I think from my side, regional is going to get bigger and bigger. If last decade, every single Indian regional language made their biggest box office movie, this decade, next 3-4 years, they will cross that threshold and record a much bigger box office movie than last decade. And the second thing, I think that 3 years later, we'll be watching the movie that was announced today morning, 700 crore rupee, 5D Mahabharata, right? So let's be ready 3 years later to watch that movie. Thank you. I think that's it from our side. If there are any questions, I think we can take 1 or 2 questions. Is there a question there? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Manoj Togra. I'm into content distribution for OTT platforms.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Is it audible now? Yes. Yeah, my name is Manoj Togra. I am into content distribution for OTT platforms. So, do you see that AVOD model gonna surpass the SVOD model in coming future? Since the Netflix is also getting into this mode.
Yeah, so I'll give it to Aamir, but before that, India has always been an advertising country.
That's right.
We want to give content free and we want to give that audience to the advertiser. That's been our model. We have a very large advertising base, lot of advertisers, because people don't want to pay for content. People will pay 3.5 lakh rupees for a massive television in their home, but they want to get one Tata Sky paid, one Tata Sky free, 350 rupees. Right? Because that's, we don't pay for content. We want content free, we will pay for hardware. So we are an advertising-led country, by and large, as a whole. But I leave it to Aamir. He runs a platform. He's better scope to say whether advertising will become big or subscription is still going to grow.
I feel any OTT platform in the country, AVOD and SVOD will always play a 70-30 ratio role. Because
70% AVOD.
70% AVOD and 30% will be subscription, and those 30% will be more than 70% of revenue. So I think that will give a balance to every OTT platform to build a successful and a sustainable business in the long run. But from a discovery perspective, yes, India is an AVOD country and Indian people love. So obviously the 30 rich people will buy the content for the 70% of people who's watching for free.
Thank you. I like this answer.
Any more questions or we're done for the day? Thank you so much. I think you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you.